Before I kick off, I want to reiterate the thank yous. I really, really appreciate all of you coming here. Franz talked about the journey we've been through. When I joined the company, we had a handful of customers. We were doing less than 5% of our business in the US. And the Europeans don't like to hear this, but you're not a real software company, a global software company, till you have a lot of customers in the US. Why? Because at least in the enterprise space, because we have a lot of big companies with complex problems that are global organizations. So now, from then to now our European business and our US business is about equal in size, which is quite an accomplishment. And therefore, thank you all for coming here. We plan to continue these accelerates every year in the US and hopefully get bigger and bigger as we go along. Let me start off by a topic that is on everyone's mind. We hear about digital transformation. I'm not going to spend too much time on it. Every company is going through this. We have an advisory board of CIOs. We met yesterday with 18 of them, 16 of them. And this is a topic in every enterprise because technology is disrupting every industry, and therefore every company has to deal with the digital transformation. What does that mean? What does it translate into to us or to the technologists? It really translates into two things. One is innovation. You got to innovate faster, innovate more, I should say, and you got to get there faster. You can't wait forever. We all know this. This is what it's all about. And that's why IT is under pressure, because today no company can innovate without it impacting software. There's nothing you can do. You cannot do any transformation without it significantly impacting software. So software at the enterprise, whether it's packaged apps or custom apps or whatever, is just so fundamental to every business that your pace of innovation is driven by how quickly you can innovate on the software side of things. There's plenty of ideas on how to innovate. The challenge is how do you implement them, and software becomes the bottleneck. So that is what it's all about. From an IT perspective, we have translated that into Devops. Devops wasn't a term 5 years ago, but the ideas around Devops were still there. The ideas around agility, right? Moving to agile development cycles. I think Devops took it to the next level, which is not only focusing on the development side of it, but how do you actually get to a faster delivery across the enterprise? So who cares if you can develop faster if you can't ship it faster, right? That's where the ideas around Devops came. And it was a little bit about technology, but more importantly, it was about people processes. But technology is important because when you do this kind of an environment, when you try to get to this kind of an environment, you need a different set of tools. You need a different set of processes. You need to reorg your organization, but you also need different sets of tools, and that's mostly what we're going to talk about. That's what we do, though we work with a lot of our customers and help them through the journey, because the tool alone doesn't do it. Now, in DevOps, the term DevOps is a bit of a misnomer, right? Because it implies there's dev and ops, meaning you dev and you throw it over. Well, ship and pray doesn't work for enterprises. It might work if you're doing, I don't know, some frivolous thing like sharing photos, where we share 50 of them every day, and if you miss a few, it doesn't matter. But most enterprises that have mission-critical transactions and things like that, you can't just ship and pray. So testing becomes a fundamental part of your DevOps journey. You cannot deliver, no matter how fast you're developing, you cannot ship it without doing the right level of testing, and that's where you get to continuous testing. If you have speed on both sides, on the dev side and on the ops side with real-time monitoring and everything, but if your testing is back to the old waterfall mode, that becomes the bottleneck. That's exactly why Patrick Debois came up with the term. His frustration, I hope you all know him, he was a tester in Netherlands, in Belgium, I think. And he was getting frustrated because dev would say they're done, and ops would say, that's all crap, I'm going to do a whole bunch of stuff, and they would never talk. That's how he started putting them together. He just forgot about himself. He put them together so that testing doesn't get squeezed in the middle. But that's what DevOps is about. DevOps is about putting everyone together, but that does not mean you can do away with testing. We heard the debate earlier. In talking to CIOs, yesterday we had 16 of them. None of them was saying that we're going to get rid of testing. You cannot, unless you want to look for a new job. You can do that then, get rid of testing, and then you'll soon have to be looking for a new job. But anyway, so continuous testing in general is really, really critical to the DevOps cycle. And anyone that tells you otherwise, at least in a large enterprise, is kidding themselves. Now, that doesn't mean the old way of doing testing works. You have to do it a different way, and that's where continuous testing comes into play. So what is and when you do surveys, people say about half, the number one issue they raise in their DevOps challenges, or what's impeding them, is testing, because testing hasn't transformed enough. 15 years ago, we outsourced testing, made it someone else's problem. And today, that doesn't work. If you have it as a outsourced service which is not integrated into your enterprise, into your systems, it becomes a problem because you fall right back into a waterfall mode. And our partners understand this, which is why they're kind of developing expertise with us so that the testing goes from manual testing to automated testing. Now, if you think about DevOps in the enterprise, this is a simple view of the enterprise. You have systems of engagement. These are the modern apps with modern technologies, modern stacks, but you still have systems of record. All the customers we have talked to, they are in the process of retiring old systems, but most enterprises have a little bit of everything that's ever been invented in technology, and many of them don't make sense to replace, right? We still have mainframes at enterprises. You can call SAP legacy, but that is where the core system of record is. So what people do when they think about DevOps, when they think about speeding up, they start with Agile, they start with DevOps practices, primarily focus on the systems of engagement. But you cannot do fundamental transformation without touching the systems of record. And that is the challenge. So systems of record, you can call it mode 1, mode 2, bimodal IT. The truth of the matter is you need DevOps across the enterprise. Otherwise, you'll get a little bit of gain by making your systems of engagement faster, but you cannot drive fundamental change. And digital transformation is not about getting a 5% improvement. No one cares. Digital transformation is about redefining your business. That means every process that you have has to change. And that cannot change without your system of record being touched and being as agile as your system of engagement. They have to be at the same cadence. The way I like to think about it, companies that are only focused on the systems of engagement, they're going through Botox treatment. You can use it, it's fast, it makes you look good, but your body's not changed. You're still suffering. So Botox, it's okay to get started there, but if you really want to change everything, if you want to transform the business, you have to think about it holistically, right? So to do DevOps across the enterprise, you have to have testing be across that whole enterprise, across all your systems. And that is where we kind of come in. That is why we believe our solution is transformative, because it can tackle this problem. There are many, many point solutions, open source tools and the like that can solve individual systems issues or individual apps issues, but you need a solution that can handle this end to end. And that is what we are all about. So let me tell you two things that you shouldn't do. And we heard about this earlier in the day. If you stick with manual testing, that's just not going to give you the speed. No matter how many people you put at it, it's just not going to give you the speed. So we have to get out of manual testing. Now, when you think about automating then, there is a role for manual testing. We believe what you need to get to is all known good and bad scenarios across all technologies should be automated. There is no reason why you cannot automate every single scenario you can imagine. End to end. The technology, the solutions are there today to automate all of that. The only thing you should leave for manual testing is, as someone on the panel earlier was saying, is things that need human eyeballs. So usability testing, exploratory testing, by definition, you're trying to discover the unknown, and UAT, right? The acceptability testing. So those are things that should leave for manual testing. It should be about 10, 15% of your total testing workload. Today, it's exactly the opposite, where we do 80, 90% manual, and we have a few scripts that do some testing. The most uninteresting areas, the areas that don't change, is where we automate. It's kind of ass backwards. What we need to do is do it the other way around, where everything known is automated, and the only thing left is where you really need human intervention, and you need your business users to start using it to get to that. So now, if you automate, why haven't we automated so far? Automation is not a new idea. This is not something that is just come to the market. The challenge has been that all the tools out there are script-based tools. Open source and commercial tools. You can automate everything with script-based tools, not a problem. The problem is it won't work on rapid cycles because scripts are fragile. Scripts break. So when you go cycle to cycle, especially when you speed up your cycles, you don't have time to maintain the scripts. Outside of what the panel was talking about, and Wolfgang mentioned, just the skill level, scripting is like writing complex software to test complex software. That's a recursive problem, not a good problem to have, right? In computer science, we know recursion is really dangerous. It can be powerful, but when you create a problem, a recursive problem takes you down the hole really fast. And that's what you do with test scripts. That's why people have given up on test scripts. So if you try to automate with scripts, it's going to lead you will not realize the benefits. You will automate once and regret it ever after that. So remember these two. We shouldn't be doing any of this. So Franz talked about our vision. Our vision hasn't changed. When we had one customer in the US, our vision was still the same. Our vision was to become the leader in testing, to be the leader in continuous testing, to have the most comprehensive, most innovative solution. And we've always been focused on enterprises because we believe those are the really complex problems. We don't try to sell into Google because they have enough money to write their own tools for everything. Well, most enterprises don't have that luxury. They also have margins that the money just keeps coming in. Most enterprises don't have that luxury. So we are focused on driving leadership, and all our investments, all our fundraising, everything in the company is focused on driving this innovative leadership. Let me tell you briefly what our product does. Many of you know this, but this is my simplest version of it. The first box is to make sure you have the right test cases. You're testing the right thing. You don't want to automate bad stuff. It's like taking a bad process and automating it, making it really fast. You'll do bad things really fast. That's not a good thing. So you need to inject risk-based test case design. When we walk into an enterprise, we see 30, 40, sometimes 60% redundancy in their tests. Why? They've been built up intuitively over time. So that's the first one, test data, test data. Number one tool in testing, what is it? Excel. Why? Because people sit there, manual testers and business analysts sit together, put together big Excels that have all the test data so you can test it then. So that's not the right way to do it. We have a stateful test data engine that can handle both production data and synthetic data. You don't need production data for all the testing. You can start off with synthetic and then do kind of pre-release testing with production data. The third and fourth are what make the automation all come together. When you have, there's no monolithic app today, right? Single app. Every business process touches multiple apps. Some are SaaS apps, some are in-house, some are bespoke apps, some are packaged apps, some are API calls to third parties. That's what makes a business process today. Well, all of them are not going to be available. They're not going to be on the same cadence. So you need service virtualization so that you can do continuous testing asynchronously with all these systems and all these teams. And then the automation engine being a scriptless engine is important. It's important because you need your automation to be resilient. It needs to be resilient from a dev cycle. We have customers that have gone from 3-month build cycles or 3-month release cycles to 1-month release cycles, but they're doing daily builds. This is a large enterprise I'm talking about. They're doing daily builds. They want to run daily tests. If you're doing daily tests, you run the tests when the developers go home. You can't do that if all your tests are breaking. You get into this finger-pointing business. No, the tests are great. No, the code is bad, right? You get back to the Patrick DeBoer problem. So those 4 boxes together is what drives the automation. You can do, if you have one of those missing, you can get started, but you cannot get to the nirvana state of truly headless, hands-free, automated testing for that 85, 90% of the scenarios that I talked about, and that too in a continuous way so that you're shifting left. Exploratory testing, like I said, manual testing has a role. And we have a tool for that allows your business users and your manual testers to easily explore the unknown and do usability testing and the like. And lastly, once you do that, you need to do load testing before you push it out. You can be monitoring real time, that's okay, but wouldn't it be nice if you could catch it before you push it out there and you don't have an alarm going off on a Saturday because your systems are going down. With APM, you know when they go down, but you would rather know that earlier rather than later. Now, historically, functional testing and load testing have been 2 different worlds, 2 different teams. Don't talk to each other. These guys write their own scripts, do their own testing, then they do their own testing. Well, that doesn't make sense. If you're doing all the functional tests, aren't those the scenarios that you should be load testing? Well, that's what we are doing now, where it is one endless system. The functional tests you use those tests to drive your load testing. And it's all driven off the cloud, so you don't have to worry about buying a whole bunch of servers and becoming a data center company, because that's what you need to do real load testing. Right? You got to have a whole lot of servers to drive synthetic data. Well, with the cloud, it becomes relatively easy. You can scale it up and down very easily. So that's a very high level what our solution does. I believe it's the most comprehensive solution out there. What I tell customers is we have so many kind of technology engines that there is not a single application you can throw at us at a large enterprise that we cannot handle. And here's just a list of them. We support most of the core technologies, including old ones that many of us would like to forget. Well, they're still there at the enterprise. Even the customers would like to forget, but they're stuck with it. The code that Jeff wrote in COBOL is still probably running somewhere. And then, of course, we support a lot of the packaged applications. As they're moving to modern architectures, it's easier and easier for us to support them. So what do we get from this, right? What you get when you get to this state of continuous testing is you can really speed up. You can shrink your test cycles dramatically. Your objective should be to shrink your test cycles such that your test and your dev cycle is in sync, is at the same cadence. If you're doing daily builds, you might not be releasing daily, but if you're doing daily builds, you need to be able to test on a daily basis. With risk-based testing, you can decide how much you want to test on a daily basis. And depending on how automated it is, you can do more and more of that on a daily basis. But when you do it on a daily basis, for the same reason that we build on a daily basis, if you can test on a daily basis, you're truly shifting left. Right? So speed is the main reason people are revisiting the tool sets that they have. Speed is the key driver. Now, the benefit we have is we do that while reducing the cost of testing. It's unbelievable how much companies spend on testing. 30, 40, some banks spend up to 50% of their budget. 50% of their app budget goes in testing across the board, right? Security testing, functional, everything. That is just, if you need to innovate faster, you're spending half your time making sure that the developers didn't mess up. We have to reduce that. We have to drive efficiency there so that you free up dollars to go into innovation. The CIO's innovation budgets are not increasing. The demands are increasing. The budgets ain't increasing, right? When the business tells the CIO, I want you to release every month, well, that's 4 times as many as we did last year. Well, they're not giving you 4 times the budget. How are you going to do that? Right? You do that by driving efficiency in every area, but in testing, you can drive significant efficiency. And if you are smart about your testing, you can do a lot less testing while doing more business-relevant testing by prioritizing the right sets. We have examples where we walked in, they had 30,000 tests. I'm not kidding, 30,000 tests. And initially, they told us they're all automated. I'm like, wow, 30,000 tests automated. That's awesome. How many run on a regular basis? Not sure. That's the answer, not sure. Why? Because they break. When they break, no one knows what's going on. It's too difficult to debug. Forget it. Ship it to India, have them do it manually. Right? That's what happens, right? You all know that. So when we talk about a 10x, for those of you mathematically oriented will say it's more than 10x. We're trying to be modest about it. But when we talk about a transformative improvement, that's what we need to be thinking about. It's about transforming the benefits on speed, on cost. You can't say I'm going to be 3 times faster, but give me 3 times the budget. No one's going to give you that. It's not possible. So you got to do something very, very transformative to get there. Now, you can't get there in one shot. It's not just a throw over the tool and suddenly everything happens. There's a journey to that we'll talk about in some of the sessions later. It is like DevOps. You can't just throw a bunch of tools. I'm using Jira. I'm now DevOps. I'm now Agile. It doesn't work that way, right? That's the easy part. It's really, but what you need to think about is the transformation that you drive, and then do it one step at a time. Those boxes that I showed, you don't need to jump on all of them. But there's a method to the madness, if you may, and you can get there. We have customers. There are many customers that are going to be talking about their success stories. But you, as the testing leaders, you need to be in this mindset that I'm driving a transformative change, because that's what will get you to engage with your business constituents. Right? Okay, so how are we doing with customers? As I mentioned, we are focused only on the large enterprise. We have a really, really impressive list of customers across every vertical. And some of these are really, really complex environments. These are some 100-year-old companies. And they've been technology adopters for a long time, so they have a lot of legacy stuff. Even they need to be faster. Just because they have legacy stuff doesn't mean they need to go away or they can't innovate. So we really focus, and we have customers that are recognizable kind of logos around the world. In the US, of course, in Europe, all across Europe, and then in Australia, New Zealand, Singapore, that's where our presence is today. So it's truly global. We're not yet in Japan, but we are looking into that as well. So it's a really impressive list of customers. Many of them are at different stages of their journey. Some of them have started just with automation. Some of them have gone all the way for some areas to go to true continuous testing. And now they're taking that expertise and experience and taking it to the rest of the organization. So there are various stages. We can more than happy to talk to you about that. Now, the good news with all this is that what we laid out as our vision, HP was very helpful to us. They kind of self-destroyed themselves. Sometimes good things happen to you. And we had a better product, but we were getting a lot of resistance from customers saying, well, I have an ELA, I've been using ALM, and all my staff knows ALM. I know it's not that great, but too much to change. Well, HP kind of helped us. They decided to get out of the business. That was a shocker for customers. Then they sold it to Micro Focus. Well, that is like software hospice. Most customers said, okay, well, HP, in our private briefing, they told us they will continue to invest, so it's okay. Well, then you go to Micro Focus, whose whole business model is to take all the software that no one else wants to keep and squeeze customers with maintenance contracts, right? Well, customers caught on to that, so if you know what happened recently, they had a huge decline in their licenses at Micro Focus, and they had a bit of a management change because of that. So we have a lot of customers telling us, we use ALM across the, we have an ELA, we need to get out. But what do they use it for? They use it for two things. One is test management for manual testing, and the other is load testing. For manual testing, for test management, I would highly recommend you think about a more modern tool. And we have one of our partners here, QS Symphony, who have the best tool out there, or the best solution for test management, the most modern solution. And every customer that they get, it's typically a customer that is using HP ALM, is now moving to a more modern set of tool sets like Jira and the like. And as part of that, they want a more modern test management solution as well. So, and there's a session later in the day on that. On the load testing, Load Runner used to be a good tool, but it needs an update, right? It's just old-fashioned and too expensive. So HP was never strong on the automation side of it, but that's what customers are looking to do. The other people that we hear about that make a lot of noise is CA. You see them at the bottom there, but they're creeping their way up. And the best way to describe, well, they again are not someone that most customers are excited to adopt just because of who they are. But on the testing side, I like to call them, PDF functionality. It's great PDFs. But in testing, they don't really have a very strong solution. And we get compliments all the time because they take our marketing material and we see that cut paste into CA's material. So our marketing people get happy about that. So, most of the analysts, but on that, if you look at Gartner as an example, and Forrester does it the same way, the x-axis, at least for Gartner, is based on how well we are innovating. Do we have the most innovative solution? That's roughly basically the driver of the x-axis. And the y-axis is really customers telling them that they've used the solution and are getting benefit out of it. So to be in the leader quadrant is really a big deal because it says we are both the most innovative and we are really enterprise ready, right? We are really enterprise ready. We are not a company that got started 2 days ago and can solve some simple problems but can't solve real complex enterprise problems. Okay, what else are we doing? We've invested a lot in innovation. We continue to do that. We have doubled our engineering team in each of the last 2 years. So we now have 22 agile teams. We have reorged 2 years ago. We reorged our whole engineering team to be completely agile based. And we used Tosca to test Tosca. Isn't that nice? That's a nice recursive problem, huh? But we eat our own dog food. We use Tosca to test Tosca. But we are adding features every day. We had a customer advisory a customer advisory meeting, a customer advisory board that met yesterday, and we are using forums like that to get feedback to make sure we prioritize the right features and the like. But we have implemented over 100 epics. We release 4 times a year with 2 major, 2 minor kind of releases. And we're really trying to drive this innovation across the board. You'll see a lot of it. Please take the time to go through the booths. There's some really cool stuff that we're showcasing. Some of it is beta, some of it is released, but please take a look at it. So we continue to invest. One of the reasons we raised money was so that we can continue this intense investment in R&D, in engineering. We have to have the most innovative product, right? Otherwise, you can't be a leader. Customer needs are changing every day as they're adopting DevOps, and we need to be able to be there. So that's one. The other is we work and have invested a lot in our partnerships, because at the end of the day, the services companies are the ones that bring vertical expertise. They have relationships with enterprises. They understand their businesses. Many a times, they are the ones who have implemented those business processes. So they're the ones who are doing the testing. What we are doing is working with these partners to modernize skill up their teams so that they can deliver continuous testing solutions to their customers. And like Jeff said, they're looking, Accenture as an example, has 40,000 testers. Well, they're skilling up everybody on Tosca so that they can become automation specialists, amongst other tools, I'm sure. But this is an area where we have invested a lot, and we have built up over 50 relationships with large GSIs and medium and small GSIs, who often come in with very specialized skills for particular industries or particular regions. So as part of that, we can have the best product, but if no one can use it, that's no good. So we've been investing a lot in the community with certifications. We invested a lot in our training system. We have courses and certifications and the like. Really, for a company of our size, we have a more mature and really state-of-the-art learning management system. You can do all your trainings and certifications online, self-paced, and the like. So it's really, really, really phenomenal. And you see this growth. Last year, we were just under 40,000 in certifications. Now we are close to 50,000 in certifications. We've added almost 11,000 just in the last four or 5 months. So people are, and many of the GSIs, like Accenture, Wipro, Infosys, they're embedding Tosca certification as part of their onboarding process for their testers. So all their testers will have at least the basic skills, and then they can build up on that. So we take this very seriously because a lot of our customers tell us, hey, we can do all this stuff, but are we going to easily find people at our services partners who can do this for us? And that's why we have invested in this. Plus, we try to spread the word a lot. We do a lot of trainings. We do these massive online sessions, incredible numbers. We get thousands of people attending these, literally thousands. We had to change our webinar system twice because they ran out of capacity. So we do a lot there. We're investing a lot to get the community enabled so that they can deliver on the promise of the product and promise of the transformation. Lastly, let me talk about our core values. These are our core values as a company. This is what we talk about as a company. This is what I drive at the company. This is important for us because without this, we cannot scale as a company. Without these values, it's no fun working at a company if you don't have values like these. So we spend a lot of time trying to, and it's a continuous journey. It's like DevOps. It's a culture thing that you have to continuously evolve, and it's never perfect, but you have to continuously work on it. I want to focus on one thing and highlight that, which is customer success. Customer success is the number one value that we embed in the company. Because we can do all the innovation. If customers don't succeed with our products, we have failed. Right? Having the coolest tool, you just become a cool tool that people complain about. I don't want to be in that. I want people to come and have a wow experience saying, oh my God, because of Tricentis, here's where we were, and here's where we are, right? It really helped our business. We succeeded in getting to that nirvana state because of Tricentis, because we used the right tool set. And therefore, customer success is something that is very, very important, and I take personal interest in it. We are also investing a lot in it. We've reorged. We have created a whole group that is focused on customer success. So everything post-sale, The whole customer engagement is being managed systematically. Whether it's support, we're going from kind of reactive support to more proactive support, not waiting for customers to have problems, but kind of anticipating that and trying to get to them before that. We have our services team that can help customers start off on the journey and guide them through the journey. And we have a transformation team that can share best practices. And there's some sessions later in the day where we take our learnings from one customer and use that as best practices and take it to other customers so that there's some learning across the enterprises. And most of our customers are more than happy to do that because they want to learn as well. Even though you might have made some success, you learn something when you go, when you exchange ideas with others. So we take this very seriously. We're not perfect. We never will be. But I just want to tell you that this is really important to me. It's important to the company. And I tell my staff that when a customer decides on a tool, like a Tricentis, especially when it's a transformative tool, they're taking a big risk because they're putting their own credibility on the line. If they fail in that implementation for whatever reason, whether it's the tool, the process, or whatever, it hurts their own personal credibility. So I take this very, very seriously. For me, it's not just a sale. Okay, we did a sale, goodbye. It's not that. We really, as a company, have tried to go such that we take that sale and then really ensure that we make the customer successful. It's not always easy. There's all kinds of issues you run into. Sometimes they're technical issues, sometimes they're org issues, sometimes they're infrastructure issues, there's political issues at companies when you're changing things. All of that is there. That's there everywhere, right? It's reality. What we can do is help you through that process as much as we can. So we want to be partners in this transformation. Transformation doesn't happen by picking up a new tool and just hoping and praying. So that's the last thing I want to leave you with is this is very real, and here's my personal info. Send me a text if that's your preferred model. I'm on WhatsApp too, by the way. I'm not on Facebook. Don't send me Facebook. Any mode of communication is fine, okay? But if we fail on this front, please feel free to reach me or anyone else in the company, and we will take it very seriously. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandeep.